I think what I want to get into with you is where people like you go from here, people who are disillusioned with the current direction of the conservative movement. What can you do? Is there anything you can do?
Well, that's a really good question, because right now, at this moment, I'm really kind of excommunicated from the conservative movement, certainly here in Wisconsin, because there is this sense that, you know, if you're not on the Trump train, if you're not on the team, that somehow you have betrayed the movement. Obviously, I don't see it that way. I do think that there's going to be this period where principled conservatives are going to be in the wilderness. There are not many of us. We're a much smaller band of brothers and sisters than we actually thought we were. But we also don't know where things are going. What is the trajectory of the Trump administration? Where is this going? Is there some moment at which conservatives are going to go, okay, we tried that, and that was really not a good idea. Let's go back to some of the principles. But I'm working with other conservatives. I'm working with Evan McMullin and
you voted for,
Minnie
right?
Finn. I actually wrote him in. He's got an organization called Stand Up Republic, and he's asked me to serve on the board. And I said, you know, I will do that to try to figure this out, because we don't know where we're going.
Where is the conservative movement headed at this point? Does it return to the days where Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan were the torchbearers, or is this really the future of conservatism?
Well, of course, that's the big question. I did not think that Donald Trump was going to win. I was wrong about that. And I thought there would be a rethinking of conservative values. And I do think that a lot of conservatives, you know, of the Reagan, Buckley style, which I put myself in that category, we're kind of in the wilderness right now. And have to ask, what is the future of the party? Is it Donald Trump? Is it Stephen Bannon? Is it people like Roy Moore, the soon-to-be new senator down in Alabama? Is it going to be this nativist nationalist, as opposed to the small government, more libertarian style that I thought was the conservative movement? And I think the jury's out on that.
You've been involved in a couple of interesting ventures here. Maybe talk about those for a moment. Something with the Knight Foundation and the Aspen Institute. What are you trying to do? This is looking at how the media's credibility has been damaged over the years, I guess.
Yeah, well, you and I have talked about this. I was a very outspoken critic of the mainstream media, and I think a lot of that criticism was valid, and I still stand by it. However, clearly what happened was that we just delegitimized the media to the point where all the referees are down, all the guardrails are down, and now we have this post-truth, post-factual world, which I think is damaging to democracy. I don't think it's sustainable to basically have that kind of a world. So the Knight Foundation with the Aspen Institute is putting together a commission to try to say, how do we put the genie back in the bottle? How do we restore that kind of confidence, the credibility? And they're bringing together liberals and conservatives, like, let's talk about this. And I thought that was a worthy effort. I don't know what they're going to accomplish, but I'm glad to be part of it, to be able to have this conversation, acknowledge the problem, acknowledge the stakes, and then say, okay, is there some way, is there some Venn diagram here where liberals and conservatives can come together and say, okay, how do we move from a post-truth world into a world that actually takes truth and credibility seriously?
And finally, the other thing you're involved with is something called the Committee to Investigate Russia.
Yes.
This is remarkable only in the sense of who really had the idea for the Committee to Investigate Russia. And that's not somebody who I would expect you to necessarily see eye to eye with. Rob Reiner.
Yeah, this is a strange new world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob Reiner, meathead. I grew up watching All in the Family. Well, he called me up and said, okay, you and I, we don't agree on anything in terms of politics, except maybe on this. And when I describe myself as as a conservative, I'm old enough to remember when conservatives in the Reagan era put country over party and really thought of Russia as a threat. And if this country was under attack, if our democracy was being undermined, we took that seriously. So he asked me whether I would serve on the advisory board of this Committee to Investigate Russia, which is basically a clearinghouse. Morgan Freeman has done a video, but it's a clearinghouse of information so that people can follow it. And I thought, you know what? We're at this moment now where, and I'll be honest with you, I'm deeply disillusioned politically, but I actually love this country and want to fight for this country more than I ever have. And if there are people on the left who are patriots, who want to work on these issues, and they extend a hand. I'm going to accept it, and I'm glad to work with him.
I give people an idea of who else is on the advisory board
Yeah.
on this committee to investigate Russia.
Yeah, James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, Max Boot, a longtime foreign policy writer, Norm Ornstein, who is much more on the liberal side, and David Frum, who's a well-known conservative, who I think was excommunicated a few years before I was.
Charlie Sykes' new book is called How the Right Lost Its Mind. It's good to catch up with you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.